Hey guys, your resident negative Nancy slash angry bastard Crollo is back with another review for you. Sorry I've been gone for a while. School's been pretty insane these past few days, but now that it's almost over, this is the last week, all the tests are done, almost all the exams are in, and now I have a whole bunch of free time devoted just for you guys. And so, without further ado, I'm here to give you my thoughts on the very first volume of the Valiant ongoing series X-O Manowar, Volume 1, By the Sword. Now, what's really cool about this first volume is I picked this up of Amazon for only $10, and for those $10, you get the first 4 issues of this ongoing series, and I honestly think this is probably one of the best comic books going on right now. I'm not really familiar with Valiant as a company. I knew they were this big deal back in the 90s, but since everyone tells me that the 90s are like the dark age of comic books and that they generally suck, I really didn't feel like checking out the old series. But as I said, what I really like about this trade is that it's only $4, and I always feel ripped off when I buy a trade. When they ask me $30 for about 3 or 4 issues, that's like 100, maybe a little more than 100 pages, and I always feel ripped off. Here I feel like I'm stealing from these guys because this is one of the best deals in terms of trade. These first 4 issues were written by Robert Venditti, and they were drawn by Cary Nord. The basic premise behind the series is that initially the series is set back in the ancient days of the Western or Roman Empire. The story begins with the Roman Empire army attacking the Visigoths, and we see our hero Aric of Dacia. I don't know how you say that. I'm gonna say Dacia. A brave Visigoth warrior who basically, tries to defend his people during this massive invasion by the Roman forces. During this battle, a lot of bad stuff happens to him personally. He loses some family members. His whole world gets kinda destroyed. And things only get worse for him when he and several of his countrymen are abducted by the Vine, an alien race that was stationed near his camp. The Visigoths, they mistook these Vine soldiers for Roman legionnaires. Needless to say, the aliens completely kicked the Visigoths' asses. They abducted them, and they took them as their slaves on board their ships. Now, what's really interesting about this is that this is sci-fi done right, and sci-fi usually isn't done that well. Besides Star Wars, Star Trek, Mass Effect, I really don't enjoy sci-fi that much. Like, if sci-fi is done right, I really, really like it. And usually, it's not done right. It usually comes off as either boring or cliche. And in comic books, whenever a book goes to, like, space or something, I just instantly get bored, and I can't keep reading it. But this comic book is the exception, because it's sort of that Captain America thing where this guy from like the 5th century gets taken away from his home world, from his time actually, by these vine creatures, and then when he actually manages to get back to Earth, it's the 21st century. His people are gone, the enemy he wanted to destroy for like 16 centuries is also gone. So it's a very, very Captain America-esque story, but it's actually a little more interesting because while Captain America was frozen in the ice, he did see basically the foundations of the 21st century back in the 1940s. This guy is just completely out of it. And and this Aric of Dacia is, from the beginning, he is a barbarian. Like, if you don't really know history, the Visigoths were basically a German barbarian tribe that went around pillaging Roman settlements, and these pillages basically resulted in the fall of the Western Roman Empire. And this guy, he is kind of a cocky asshole. he's very arrogant, he's very prideful, he is basically a barbarian who now has to figure out how to live in the modern day. Now, this gets touched on later in the story, but in the first 3 issues of the 4 issues in this volume, we actually see what would happen if this primitive man interacted with aliens, and he doesn't understand them. They do a lot of bad things to him and his people. They treat them like dirt. And I also like that when he gets the Saharan armor, which is basically like this holy artifact that no one from the Vine has ever been able to control except Aric. He's the first person who's ever been able to put on the armor without it instantly killing him. And so this sets up a lot of groundwork for what's going to happen next. And also, another piece of setup that's gonna play a big role in the storyline later is that the Vine go on Earth not to find slaves. Specifically, if they can nab a few slaves, then that's all well and good. But they also go there to basically send their children there. They mask them as humans, and then these babies act as sleeper agents for the Vine, and you know, people don't even realize this. These babies are perfectly. They look like humans. They act like humans. They're basically, the Vine is kind of like the Skrulls. And you know, Marvel fans will know what I mean by that. They're kind of like the Skrulls. They have this whole big take over the world agenda. They have all these sleeper agents that have been on Earth for centuries. They basically know the entire evolution of the human species, and their plans are pretty much a mystery at this point. Also, Aric getting the Saharan armor is going to cause a divide in the Vine people, because we already see this, that the Vine is kind of split in the middle between 2 factions. We got the soldiers who don't believe in all this religious bullshit. They just want to accomplish their own goals of conquering the universe, or whatever their goal is that we still don't know. And then you have the religious priests who look to Aric as their savior. They've been saying for centuries that one day a worthy warrior will take the Saharan armor and he will, lead the Vine people into something greater. We don't even know the true prophecy behind this, but we can already see that these priests and these soldiers, that these 2 separate factions are going to battle over Aric, and it's actually going to be really interesting to see that not all of these guys are actually bad, and that Aric isn't completely alone in this new world. And from what the last issue also sets up is that the Vine might be trying to manipulate him through the sleeper agents. Now, I don't know if this actually does happen, but it would actually cause an interesting dynamic if these guys actually do try to use Aric to basically destroy the human race or conquer the planet. So, the writing is very, very good. You can tell that Robert Venditti understands history. He gets the time period. He understands how these people thought. He understands what the situation of this people was. He also doesn't. This is also kind of a violent book. You see a lot of decapitation everywhere. You see people getting burned alive, cut to pieces and stuff. And it's fittingly violent, but it's not like a Marvel Max book where it's violent just for the sake of being violent. It's a perfect middle that, everyone can enjoy, in my opinion. The writing for, the Visigoths is very good. Aric's character development is also very interesting because it's kind of like, you've seen this kind of premise in a lot of movies. What would happen if someone from, the Middle Ages was taken to our world? Realistically, they'd go batshit insane or die out of sheer shock, but we can't have that because that would pretty much end the series. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Aric is going to interact with the people of the modern day. I can already see the jokes about, "What is an iPhone thou speaketh of?" He doesn't talk like that. I wish he did. That would be pretty funny. But but he's actually a pretty cool guy. He's actually a very likable character. He's a very tragic character. He's the last of his people, and Robert Venditti does a fantastic job with everyone. He lays on a lot of groundwork for what's going to happen later in the series, and judging by the sales that this whole series has been getting and the critical acclaim, I presume that this ongoing series will last for years to come, and I hope it does, because if the following issues can keep up with the quality that was set up in this first volume, then we're in for a treat. Cary Nord's art is actually pretty good. I think he worked on Conan, and he won a few Eisner Awards, so that's pretty cool, but his characters do look a bit exaggerated. In the first issue, there are a few places where the characters are a little... there are a few funny poses that look weird, that don't make any sense. But later on, the art does improve. All the exaggerated, muscle features get pretty toned down, and the action is actually very beautiful to look at. I'm not much of a visual guy, so I really can't describe the art that well. But I will tell you, it's kind of like Brian Hitch's artwork from the Ultimates. It's very detailed, but it's also an art style that's on time. This isn't like Jim Lee, where it's going to take him like a year to finish a series. This is the perfect balance between a fantastic-looking book and an artist and... let me rephrase that. God damn it, brain fart. This is the perfect balance between a perfect balance between artwork that looks beautiful and that can be delivered on time. And I hope that the artist stays on this book, because he actually has a lot of small details on the characters. The battles are fantastic, as I said before, and overall, I very much enjoyed this volume. This is a steal. It's only $10 on Amazon. I highly recommend that you guys pick this up. This is easily one of the best comic books that's out right now. And if you're one of those sci-fi fans that has kind of been getting screwed over by mediocre sci-fi these past few years, there's absolutely no reason for you to not pick this one up. So yeah, there you go, guys. Those are pretty much my thoughts on X-O Manowar Volume 1 by The Sword. I left the link in the description, the Amazon link in the description, so you can buy it, because it's just that awesome. So yeah, guys, I'll do another video soon, I hope, or I'm gonna disappear for another 2 months. That's likely gonna happen. But no, I'm gonna try and get a new video out for you. So yeah, I'm done, and see you guys later. Bye.